Picture Renaissance Rome, the year 1502. In a chamber deep within the Vatican, a young woman watches her reflection in polished silver. Torches hiss outside her door, marble floors glow with their light, and a wedding is unfolding like a play written by ambition. But there are no tender vows here, only the sharp, metallic scent of power and the rustle of silk, heavy with grim expectation. The woman is Lucrezia Borgia, daughter of Pope Alexander VI, and the face that stares back at her is a mask of serene composure, meticulously crafted for the ordeal to come. The hall outside is drenched in gold, tables sag with roasted peacocks and spiced wine, and every smile hides a calculation. No one here mistakes this for love. This is survival dressed in brocade, a brutal transaction disguised as a sacrament. By the end of this night, her marriage bed will become a public stage. Her body will be summoned as evidence. Privacy will be devoured by politics. And though this begins as a tale of a duchess and an arranged marriage, it is darker, stranger, and more unforgettable than that. It is the story of how a woman, subjected to the most profound humiliation, learned to weaponize the gaze of her tormentors and build a throne upon the bedrock of her own shame. The trumpets flare. Laughter clinks against goblets. At the center of the glittering chaos stands Alfonso d'Este of Ferrara, gleaming in polished armor beside his new bride, yet pale beneath the sheen. He is not just marrying a beautiful woman, he is marrying the treacherous legend of the Borgias, poison whispered behind fans, incest muttered behind columns, and a pope for a father who moves his family like chess pieces across the blood-soaked board of Italy. Lucrezia is just 22. But she has already worn 2 other marriages like ill-fitting crowns, one annulled in a spectacle of shame, the other ending in a pool of blood on the Vatican steps. Tonight, she wears cloth of gold that shimmers like captured light, pearls stitched across her bodice like frozen tears. Her face is calm, practiced, exquisitely still. She understands that every glance is a verdict. Rome needs this alliance. Ferrara demands papal coin. Alfonso needs heirs, and lurking beneath this fragile pact of convenience lies a grotesque, unwritten clause: the marriage must be proven, not with a signature, but in the flesh. You have heard of rustic customs, of bloodied sheets waved to a mourning crowd, but this is a colder, more clinical horror, not a display after the fact, but witnesses during the consummation itself, a ritual of verification performed not once, but 3 times. The banquet drags on. Musicians thread double meanings through their melodies, while poets sugar their lines with the word fertility. Toasts are raised that sound like commands. May your womb fill Ferrara's cradle. Across the table, Lucrezia holds her cup as though it were a dagger's hilt, her smile a flawless, unmoving work of art. The Este family demands this proof to silence all future rumors. After her first husband was publicly declared impotent and her second was assassinated, there can be no loopholes, no whispers, no escape. When the last rhyme lands like a soft threat, the couple is led not to privacy, but to a chamber prepared like a stage set. The air is heavy with rose perfume, wax, and sweat. Curtains of heavy velvet are parted just enough for the chosen eyes of Este envoys and papal clerics. A priest murmurs a prayer that sounds like an incantation, while a clerk clears his throat, his quill poised over parchment. The act that belongs to 2 becomes a ritual for many. And because politics loves overkill, the ceremony is witnessed, then repeated the next day, and then a 3rd time, stamping the seal of the alliance so deep it might as well be iron. In the tremble of candlelight, something else surfaces steel beneath the silk. Lucrezia has stood in the public stocks of humiliation before. She recognizes the script written to break her. This time, she will learn to inhabit it, to memorize every line, and one day, change the ending. Her body, pressed into a treaty like wax, will not remain a passive seal. In the shadows of this degradation, she is already learning where the daggers are kept, and how to smile while she hides one in the folds of her gown. The curtains close on the threefold spectacle, but the story ripples across Italy. The Borgia, protocol, a tale of choreographed proof told half in mockery, half in awe. Lucrezia steps into Ferrara not as a blushing bride, but as a living, breathing scandal, a presence to be reckoned with. Ferrara is not the viper's nest of Rome. Here, Renaissance polish gleams over hard stone. This court prefers Greek to gossip, and humanists pass Aristotle while painters lift colour into frescoed light. But refinement is only a silk screen for the same old game of power, now played with civilized daggers. Lucrezia understands this theatre. The rumours follow her like a train poison, vials hidden in rings, complicit smiles at assassinations. She brings Rome's shadows with her, but she also brings an instinct for turning the public gaze into leverage. She does not retreat. She performs. She dazzles with a grace that does not beg, but commands. Gifts appear like magic silks that flatter a rival's complexion, jewels that match a matron's favourite reliquary, small fortunes disguised as kindness, contracts written in sparkle. With each exquisite token, she weaves an invisible net of obligation. When someone lets slip a joke about the witnessed night, she refuses the script of shame. She meets it with a controlled silence that works like a mirror, making the laughter rebound and its source look small and cruel. She does not apologize. She simply remains luminous, as if to say, "You have seen the performance. Now watch the Duchess rule." She curates herself meticulously, gowns embroidered with stars, jewels engraved with mottos that speak louder than rumors. Everything whispers, "I am not a scandal. I am a sovereign." She hosts salons, rooms lit not just by candles but by ideas. Here, scholars spar over Plato, and poets frame love like a theorem. Behind every cultured exchange lies a graceful trade of power. The narrative begins to shift. Perhaps she is not only Borgia poison, but also Este Polish. And Alfonso, her husband, wary at first, is drawn into this evolving duet. He commands with the force of a soldier. She commands with the subtle gravity of a star. A joke makes the rounds that the real consummation was between the Pope's treasury and the Este coffers. Lucrezia is not blind to this. When resistance rises, she answers with the cold math that built the match alliance: security, coin. She is never crass. She is simply undeniable. She cannot scrub the stain of her past clean, so she does not try. She outshines it. When snubbed, she answers with grace. When doubted, she answers with competence. When judged, she answers with results. And results arrive. She builds circles of loyalty among the women of the court, those who know the currency of endurance. She uses the court's gaze to make it look at itself. How many of their own daughters were paraded for inspection? How many noble sheets were held to morning light like a relic? Her ordeal was not alien. It was simply more visible, more precise. She doesn't erase the scandal. She edits the scene order. First humiliation, then artistry. First proof, then patronage. Years slide forward. By 1509, with French forces looming, Alfonso rides to war, and in his absence, it is Lucrezia who governs Ferrara. She issues decrees with a steady hand, calms unrest, and writes letters that are not decoration, but weapons tipped in ink. Her papal connections, once chains, become shields for her new city. The lesson of her wedding night, that humiliation can be leveraged, now plays out on a world stage, and her body, always currency, delivers the final coin expected. She bears many children, and each birth knots her more firmly into the fabric of Este legitimacy. The bride, once reduced to proof, now proves herself until no one can deny her power. In Ferrara, she earns a new name, La Buona Duchessa, the Good Duchess. The same woman Europe mocked as a creature of scandal, Ferrara remembers as generous and just. She founds convents and commissions altarpieces that still glow in chapels today. Her patronage is a counterweight to the shadows of Rome, a legacy written not in gossip, but in stone and paint. But fate is merciless. In 1519, at just 39, she dies giving birth to her 10th child. Mourners fill the streets, grieving. A duchess who had transformed humiliation into grace, who had taken the cruelest stage imaginable and turned it into her sovereignty. And so the paradox crystallizes. The wedding night meant to break her became the very making of her. The Borgia Protocol, those 3 obscene rituals, might have branded her with shame forever, but she bent the brand to her will, forging dignity out of spectacle. Stand one last time in that candlelit convent chapel. The Duchess rests, her story whispered into stone. Her life reminds us of a truth, both haunting and luminous, that power can rise from humiliation and sovereignty from spectacle. History is often written in strange places, not just on battlefields, but in the theatre of intimacy, stolen and remade. And as the story fades, hold on to this: the bed meant to strip her of dignity became the foundation of her throne. The scandal meant to define her became the legend that outlived them all.